Hi, I'm Kathy from Unlocking the Parenting Code, all about boys. Welcome to the first solo episode of season 3. I thought I would get to this a lot sooner than I am, but after 21 conversations with young men and dads and experts on male mental health and masculinity, I decided that this was really good timing because November is a month that we all stop and focus on men's mental health. It's a good thing, but it's really too bad that we don't focus more energy consistently on supporting our young boys and men. So I wanted to kind of jump in and just um, share a little bit of things that I've taken from these episodes. I've had people ask me, am I switching from helping parents, supporting parents raising boys now that I have a focus on talking to young men and dads? And it's actually the opposite is the truth. I've been working for probably close to 30 years now, trying to understand the best I can about the inner emotional world of boys. And, I'm constantly listening to things, I'm reading things, I'm studying things, I'm talking to people like my son all the time. But there was something missing, it kept nudging at me. And so I chose to call this season 3. And I wanted to hear from these little boys who have grown up to become young men and also to talk to men who were starting their own families. And what I realized was that's the missing piece in what I have been doing is that in order for us to really understand, we have to be able to listen to what it's really like for them. And even though I can talk about things that will make life smoother, both for families and for little boys growing up, being able to talk to a young man or a dad, it's kind of like it's golden because then you can think back in retrospect. And when a young man is talking to you about the negative impact of his years in schooling institutions, the impact is so much greater than if you're just thinking, that 8-year-old boy who seems not to be thriving in the grade 2 classroom and think, okay, we will take these steps to try to support him, to try to make it a little bit better, but the system is the system. So that's one way, we're trying to move the pendulum forward a little bit. But when you hear consistently that there's a thread between all these conversations with, many of the young men that is saying, look, that was, even though my parents really tried, that part of my growing up was painful. And when young men talk to us, when we give them a platform to talk about things, we might be surprised. So one of the things that really surprised me during the interviews was actually the first interview, and that was with my son. And we have had conversations forever. We talk about everything. And because this is, my mission has been driven by this passion to understand, we're constantly talking about things that, I read or he reads or listens to, and then trying to put it in the context of the real world of young men. I thought I knew I thought I knew his inner emotional world quite well. And in the interview, one of the things when I asked, what do you think is the biggest challenge that many young men face today that nobody talks about or nobody really understands? It was his answer that just kept, like I've been thinking about it nonstop since. And it was he said there is kind of an unspoken expectation that men are supposed to keep their emotions relatively flat. So not too happy, not too sad, not too angry, not too joyful, like flat. And he said when you are not being able to be your authentic self, when you're not being able to have that wide range of human emotions, it comes at a cost. And that cost, sometimes comes out in things like addiction or mental health issues with depression and anxiety, risky behavior, inability to have deep connection in relationships. It doesn't bid well for our young boys. And when you start looking at mental health and especially the devastating statistics around suicide, and knowing that those are probably incredibly low because men have a tendency not to reach out for help, not to talk about those pains or wounds that they have. So when you think, okay, 1 in 10 men, that's one of the statistics will suffer from some kind of mental anguish, but 1 in 8 men over the course of their lifetime will have a major mental episode. So when we think 1 in 8 men, it's kind of, okay, that's a statistic. But then if you sit down and you think, okay, 8 men, okay, my dad, my brother, my husband, my son, my uncle, my cousin, you can quickly come up with 8 faces to go with that. And if you think one of those men might be the one who's going to suffer terribly, one of those men might become the statistic. Then we start looking at things a little bit closer to home. And that's an important part of this. I want to end this with, a short hopeful note, because there is so much hope. And in the interviews this season, I kept meeting young men who were trying to do something different, who were trying to create communities. They were trying to be present with their families, to be honest about what was going on inside, to be better fathers and men. And that's the part that I find so exciting. That's the possibility for a much better future for all our little boys who become young men and fathers. Next week's episode is a beautiful example of a man who is doing exactly that. He's the father of 4 boys, and so he has a really deep interest in understanding masculinity and providing an environment for his boys to thrive. He also knows that in order to do that, he has to do the inner work on himself. And he shares this whole process of becoming a father, of facing the challenges, of knowing where his limitations are, and things that he's trying to become a better father, and then sharing that with others in case it can help support them as they're going through, similar things. Uh, when I listened to him, when I had the conversation with him, it is filled with so much optimism. It is full of just things that you think, oh, I can't wait to try that out with my boys. There's there's such a beautiful possibility for the way we can be raising our sons. Next week's episode will give you a glimpse of how somebody is doing that, and be sure to tune in. So if this kind of episode really resonates with you, I would suggest that you go to the website. There's a free challenge on there. It's called the 3-day challenge for parents of boys. That will help you get a little bit of awareness and knowledge and just get you started on a path. And the other thing that I've also got available at the moment anyway is a tiny challenge where I connect with you individually. It's free, but I connect with you individually 3 or 4 times to help you kind of go through the process of solving one of your parenting problems. So if either one of those is something that can help you support how you're intentionally parenting, please reach out. I would love to be able to support you. So thank you for listening to Unlocking the Parenting Code, all about boys. And if you found this helpful, please share it with another parent, another father, or a young man. The world of humanity has 2 wings. One is women, the other is men. Not until both wings are equally developed can a bird truly fly. See you next week. Thank you for sharing your time with me today. Every conversation we have here is a step toward raising boys who feel seen, heard, and deeply valued. If you're looking for more support on this journey, I invite you to visit me at sonhoodcoaching.com. You'll find a link in the show notes. And as always, thank you for being part of this important movement. Until next time, take good care.